sit back and put it on. It's on. Look, when it does this, it's on mute. So if you want to talk, you got to cut it on, okay?
All right.
Right now it's on. Okay. No, yeah, you just cut it on.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Kathy Stanley Galvan, Mayor of the Town of Stoneville. On behalf of the Town Council and myself, we'd like to thank each of you for joining us this evening. At this time, please be respectful and silent or cut off your cell phone. At this time, let us stand for the pledge. Byron, will you lead us with the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll ask for Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Thornton, to lead us in prayer, please.
Let us pray. We come to Christ, the living bread, to sacrifice that we may never hunger or thirst again for what is right. We come to Christ who gives us the living water that we may never thirst again. In his name we pray as one voice. Amen.
Amen. At 5 p.m., council met in closed session. Discussed was number 3, consult with our town attorney. Number 5 was instruct negotiating agent, and number 6 was personnel. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month? I have a motion from Councilman Thornton. A second?
Second.
Who's Councilman Bennett? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for this afternoon?
With the 2 additions.
Yes, I'm sorry. And we will be adding number 11, which is a budget amendment, which will be the SCAT bus service, and number 12, and this will be the consideration to add a new police officer, along with the consideration for a budget amendment to fund the police officer. At this time, that will be adding number 11 and number 12. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Farmer, a second, Councilman Thornton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go ahead and start. We're going to start with the public hearing, and this is a consideration of the text amendments of the zoning ordinance, and it's chapter 150, the building regulations, section 1.50.09, non-residential maintenance code. So at this time, do we have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion from Farmer, second is Thornton. All in favor?
Aye.
We're now in public hearing, and this is open for discussion. Do we have no public comments? Do we have any further discussion up here? No further discussion? So,
Madam Mayor, I do want
yes.
to make note of the recommendation of the advisory board that they do want to increase the fee that will be associated with this ordinance from 100 to 300. That is the recommendation.
So we have no further discussion at this time. Do we have a motion to come out of public hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion from Farmer, second. Shelton, all in favor? Opposed? Now we're out of public hearing. And with that, and going out of public hearing, is the consideration to adopt ordinance 0-2025-03, amending the Town of Stoneville zoning ordinance, chapter 150. And this will be the building regulations, section 1.50.09, non-residential maintenance code as presented by staff. And we need to have a motion.
I make a motion that we approve it, that we adopt ordinance 0-2025-03, amending the Town of Stoneville zoning ordinance, chapter 150, building regulations, section 150.09, non-residential maintenance code as presented by staff.
So we have a motion on the floor from Councilman Farmer, a second.
Second.
Councilwoman Smith, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is new business. First will be the update on the water sewer infrastructure grants, and this will be presented by Mr. Bill Luster with LKC Engineering.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to you all tonight. I hope tonight is just a little bit of a reminder, a little bit of update on the projects that are ongoing. And before the meeting got started, I left a prize of each given permission to survey it, so we're kind of moving forward with that design right now. So that'll be catching up really quickly as we go through that design, finalize the property, and hopefully go through that purchase. So that one's good to report now. We're really moving on it now, but that one's taking a little while to get out of the gates. The next project, water system improvements. This is miscellaneous capital improvement projects that came out of your water system asset inventory project, designated and is funded with that $2.7 million out of the state budget reserves. We are about 90% complete. Expected permit submittals in our next quarter. I think Byron, at least Braxton, has had that initial design meeting with you, and we got some fine tuning, and we'll get that 90 to 100 so we can get submitted. That one's going good and on schedule. I think that the good part about this one is once we can get it moving, it's money that was earmarked and placed at North Carolina OSBM, and then it's placed on hand. So this is one that you have on hand, so we can get things permitted, properties, easements worked out. We'll be off and running, and no funding issues there at all. So that one is doing good and on schedule. The next one is also a state budget reserve project. And I'm sorry, let me back up. There's a map right here of those miscellaneous improvements. And it might be a little hard to see that yellow highlighting, but it shows you that Matthew Street, Forest, Leslie, and following down to Bryan, the idea is to replace some really deteriorated lines in that area. We're also going to be doing some work over on Oak Lawn and King. And I think my engineer's been talking to Byron. There's some lines you got where you might have lines on old deteriorated lines where there's a good line across the street. We're going to try to include some of that into the final layout as well. But that goes with the one we just finished, the miscellaneous CIP projects. The next project, the US 220 water main extension, I keep calling it US 220 and 704, that is 135, and if anybody knows that, I know that, I apologize. That's $2 million we got from NCOSBM, and we're really complete with that design. That design is complete. We have submitted for public water supply and erosion control permits, and I think those are all approved. We have submitted to NCDOT locally. They are on our side, if you will. It is a project because it's going across the controlled access highway of 220. We have to get a blessing from DOT in Raleigh. We are still awaiting that. We've had some back and forth, but we're hopeful for that very soon. And this map is one of the many sheets in that design set. This kind of gives you an idea of where it's located, going across 220 there. And what we're doing is right near the tank, up near the intersection of the highway at the off-ramp. We're going to go down and try to go across the road. We're going to have some receiving pits between the ramp and 220 because of the tremendous grade changes across there to keep it from being 20-some feet deep. So, like I said, I think we are very close to getting NCDOT approval there and have all of our other approvals. We have held off seeking the easements until we thought DOT was okay, and I think we're just now getting started with the survey required to do the easement plats, because I think we can move forward. We did talk to that property owner prior to surveying, and we have hopes that there's not going to be any issues there. So, the last two projects are, if you remember me last time talking about the stormwater system AIA and the wastewater system AIA. These are asset inventory assessment projects. This is projects where we go out and assess different things in town. Both of them were competitively applied for and secured through the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. And I would say that they are ongoing, on time, but probably just not producing a lot of product yet. What we've done in both of them at different levels is we've been doing a lot of the survey work for mapping and a lot of the field inspections of structures. I brought some samples of that for both of them. I'm kind of talking about both of them from a field inspection standpoint. And this right here in the very back, there's 4 sheets, kind of shows you what we do with our inspections. This is kind of geocoded, so it'll be tied to your map when we're done. When you're done with your mapping, all of these inspection reports that tie to any asset, whether it's a manhole, drop box, or piece of pipe, it will connect back into the mapping program so that you can reference it there. But that's what we've done, and I want to just kind of give you the example of what our field personnel do is they fill one of those out for every asset. And so far, with the stormwater system, I think they've done field inspections of over 70, like inlets, boxes, storm manholes, and inspected, lines, culverts, and numerous other things. The next thing we're going to be doing is starting to take a look at efficiencies and tying that map together. And maybe just as a reminder, the stormwater doesn't cover every single culvert in town. It's kind of a focused area for the most part of this area, down through the school property, down behind Charlie Soap, into the ditching network that parallels Church Street until it leaves town on the south end. So that's been the focus. We will have some comments about other ditch networks that leave town because we had kind of walked those and looked at them. We've got some erosion in some areas we'd like to at least point out in case have that in the plan in case we're able to take this forward and go after funding in the future. On the wastewater side, we're developing a great map that Byron and his folks are going to be able to use. It'll have all of your manholes, lines, documented size, age, condition, what they call high priority lines, or lines where you've got aerial crossings of creeks and different things that's required by DEQ. We'll have all of that on the map. All of that is things that are required by DEQ that Byron has to keep up with in your collection system permit. It's something that you have to update on an ongoing basis. But in addition to that, I think we started this right after Byron got here. You had some other folks through another grant do a rate study. So we took it out of ours and put a little more on mapping. And what we did was we actually not just located manholes, but we hit rim elevations and invert. So we literally have the way the network's laid out. If somebody came to us, this map's done, you can be able to tell them the elevation between 2 manholes if you needed to, if somebody's trying to connect, somewhere along the lines. And it's going to be really kind of neat, far ahead of, most of your neighbors, but a lot of folks are getting into this, but it's really good to not just have the layout, in the 2D, but you're going to be able to have all the elevations as well. That mapping is ongoing and nearing complete. There's some fine-tuning that goes with all of that. All these projects total up to the $5,650,000. It's a lot of great things. I think the work up top with the booster pump station, the miscellaneous CIP improvements, the line across 220. There are things we designated in the past, as either need through deterioration, future development, things like that. And I think that the fact that we completed previous asset inventory projects, we developed capital improvement plans, we had these in there and were able to push those forward when money was available to show that we had the need. So that's been good, and I think we'll do the same thing. When we complete the stormwater study and the wastewater study, we'll have updated information for that for future grant programs. A good example right now is NCDEQ has an ongoing program for water and sewer. Right now, the stormwater doesn't have much in it, but one day that'll come back too, as money allows, and when that does, we'll be ready when this is complete to seek that. I don't really have anything else to say. The front sheet, the really good summary sheet, except Bill's brain dead mistake of 135 there. I really hate that.
I think it's supposed to be 770, isn't it?
Oh, 770.
Yep.
I said 135.
Yep.
At least I got to 7.
Yep, you got it right.
I can't get anything right tonight.
Yeah.
I want to point out in the middle of that front sheet, the manhole on the left, the 2 pictures in the middle, the manhole on the left and the manhole on the right are a couple of different manholes inspected. The one on the left is, the ones you have like that, we're gonna, you know, they'll be recommended for improvement. You know, you got a lot.
Probably from the 1920s, right?
Right, and, the one on the right is kind of what they're supposed to look like if they're
Yeah.
newer. Not coated or anything yet, but that's a new one that's just gone in. And, I've carried this little, photo that, of the work that Mark put together with the meters out front. That shows you all the different meters that you've gone through over the years, and it's a good reminder that you've gone through that, you've taken those out, you got your new meter system
Right.
in. That's something great you've done over the years as well. I felt like I was talking fast, and I thought on the way up here I was probably gonna try to cover too much. Any questions?
I just have a comment, and I appreciate what you do, Mr. Lester. I've been on the board about 12 years, and you've been here every step of the way, and you hear out in the community sometimes there's nothing going on. This project's been going on for about 2 years, and a lot of times when you get $6 million, that's exactly what we got, almost $6 million. You got to plan projects, you got to do design, and then you got to get permits, and the permits sometimes can take as long as the project does, because we're relying on DOT and all the state regulations that have to be met, and probably within the next 6 to 12 months, then you'll start seeing the construction take place. And I know since I've been on this board, we have been working on trying to replace water pipes and sewer pipes in this town, and because at one time that was our greatest need and probably the biggest problems that we had. So we started working on that, and then this budget year we also, another thing that we've started working on is road improvement. We budgeted $500,000 of road improvement that hopefully is going to take place by June 30th of 2026. So we've got some roads that we're going to start working on, and as far as roadways are concerned, when it gets cold, you can't pour asphalt things, so we have to wait until probably the spring and the summer, and hopefully we'll get all that done. So people say there's not a whole lot getting done. There's a lot getting done. It's just a process, and I worked in government 40 years, and then I've served on the council for about 12. Government's pretty slow, I can just tell you that right now, but the town is working toward making improvements for its citizens. I'm going to be going off the council in 2 months. I know these folks up here are going to do a great job continuing to make the town great, and the folks that we've got running, hopefully the ones that are elected will continue to work with everybody to do that. But it's everybody working together for a common goal, and I think what this council does is try to do things like this to get these grants. This is $6 million almost that the city didn't have to find funds to get out of the general fund and things like that. So this is grant dollars that staff and Mr. Lesser worked on getting that allows us to make improvements for our town, and then leaves us some dollars to do the additional things that we need to do to make this town a better place. So, Mr. Lester, thank you, and I appreciate all you've done since I've been on the council, and I know you've been doing this for the town for 20-plus years or longer, and again, thank you very much.
There's no place I'd rather be doing it, even though I can't get some of the road nailed right. So, thanks, Mike.
Mr.
Let's
Lester,
have it up.
Yeah, we've had quite a few, or a few residents that have complained about stormwater drains and runoff. So how big an issue is this with the town? And I mean, you were talking about how it meanders through town and gets down ultimately toward Church Street, which we just had one that complained a month ago about that. So where's all this water going?
Where it's going, I don't even know if we have a name for that stream, but the one that leaves south along Church Street, I think is unnamed, and it will eventually get back to streams that will get to the river. But yes, there's problems. I'll start by saying everybody's got them. What we're realizing, I know development sometimes takes a little bit of a hit with that, and that's a little true. You know, growth has a little bit of a price. But the bigger thing is we're experiencing, in our world, we design structures, you know, whether it's pipes or whatever. We design those structures for storms, like I've heard people talk about 10-year storms, 100-year storms. People don't design for 100-year storms, they design for 10 and 25-year storms, and the problem, and you really can't afford to do that sometimes, but, you know, to think if you're going to try to go beyond that, you'll just never be able to afford it. But the problem is we're seeing storms that are 50 and 100-year storms regularly. And those are percentage changes. It doesn't mean there's one coming every 1 in 100 years, but, you know, that's the problem. And I think we see that a lot today, and I think residents are more concerned because we're seeing those heavier events, and what they do is they cause that problem more often, you know, especially if the ground's saturated. So yes, we see those, but erosion, right, you know, when you get more of those events, it erodes those, you know, ditches and waterways. We have one, I think Forest Matthews, where it kind of parallels Bryan and out of town. I think that one's extremely eroded, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You want to go walking that outfall sometimes, you know, we need to protect it for the sewer system that runs parallel to it. So there's reasons to protect it even when there's no property really, like housing or other type property potential for loss. But, you know, I've looked at some of the other, you know, problems, and I think the higher intensity, higher frequency is a problem. It brings it to our attention forefront. I probably go look at drainage problems everywhere I work across the state, and you can feel that is coming up more and more. We do have some problems. This is a Eugene thing, but I'll tell you, a lot of these are private property, and that in itself makes it a problem. We are studying these problems here so that we can designate and look at grants in the future, because what most towns don't have the ability to do is go onto private property unless they have easements and right-of-way. But they also don't have that type funding. You know, you have a water and sewer fund, so you can have water and sewer rates to go out and raise those to maybe make some improvements, but most people don't have stormwater funds. You can develop one, but that's how you would generate funds to start getting into or off of right-of-way and develop right-of-ways to do things like that. And that's a big leap to go onto that private property and do anything like that. But it's there. And what we will do in this project is look at that route. I mean, that's where a lot of our problems and I think complaints have come over the years in that pathway. And you'll see that we can put some numbers to what it would take to pass 25-year storms and things like that. And you'll also see, not fast forward into the final report, but they're going to be very expensive solutions. And we'll need grant money to be able to address that. I don't know if that was too much.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, very nice. Any other questions? Very good, thank you, Billy.
Thank y'all very much as always, and I'm gonna slide out here on 770.
Next is the consideration of bid proposals for the annual leaf collection.
Yes, Council, we have, we received 2 bids for the collection of the leaves beginning November 1 through the end of December. One from Treadway Lawn Care out of Eden, and the second being from Ray Harris Lawn Care out of Eden as well. And so I present you those bids tonight.
And they were in the packets.
Yes, your bids are in the packets for consideration.
And who do we presently use right now?
Presently, you are utilizing Treadway Lawn Care.
And we've used them for how many years?
6, 5, 6? Is it? 6.
And have we had any issues, anything with these folks?
Not that I've been made aware of, no, sir.
And
No.
we've never used the other people in the past or anything, or if they ever?
This would be the first time if we go that route, but Treadway, you know, if he's had any problems, he's always come back and taken care of the issues that might have.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is we've used somebody for 6 years, we know what we're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
We know what kind of equipment he's got.
yeah, and your equipment is all up to date and everything, just like you've done in the past.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we approve Treadway,
Lawn care.
Treadway Lawn Care for the 2025 leaf collection.
So it's usually, is it usually a 3-year contract?
Is this for a 3-year contract?
It is,
For the
correct.
3-year contract as presented.
So we have a motion on the floor from Councilman Farmer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I got some. So, can we discuss the difference in the prices?
Sure.
The public deserve to know.
Yeah.
So what's Treadway's price?
It was in your packet.
Yeah, I know it is. What is it?
$10,029.63.
Well, year one would be 9,785 for year one.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
9,785 was the proposal for this current year.
Sorry. Okay, and what's Harris?
7,800.
Well, it's about 2,000 higher.
And keeping,
This is gonna run through December 31, is that correct?
Well, the time period of collection every year would be November through December.
The only thing that I will mention that I remember is that several years back, the council did go with a lower bid, and those people did not complete the job like they were supposed to, and I think we had to call, from my understanding, we had to call Mr. Treadway in to come in and finish that particular season up because some improper equipment that the other folks have, so.
That was when it was Robbie Wilson, right?
Yeah, I'm not
We
sure
had to
who it
come
was.
up.
But I do think sometimes when you know what you have, they're dependable and they get the job done. That's why I made the motion to go with the existing firm that we have.
Any further discussion? So all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
was there a second?
Ma'am? Yes, so we had a motion from
I made a motion.
Farmer and a second.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Next is a consideration of proposals for the road paving project.
Yes, council, we had multiple paving companies contact Mr. Curry about the paving project that we had posted, and I'll allow him to come forward if he wants to speak on those behalf. I will make note that we had some requirements within each one of the proposals. I will say that all of them are missing some of the information in that we asked for specific references, but in speaking with Byron, he has stated that he could get those if necessary, but that he did have some contact with the recommended contractor that he is recommending for tonight.
So we did have 3 bids. I am recommending we go with the lowest bid, which is Wall Asphalt. They came in pretty much at the price point we were expecting, $366,000 and change. The other 2 were significantly higher. I do have some previous dealings with Wall. They've always done a good job for Eden in the past. I see no reason why they wouldn't be, as good here. What we're gonna bid down is what we're gonna call a milling field. So the streets will actually be milled down, and then a 2-inch will go back with fresh asphalt, new asphalt, as written in the RFP. Any valve boxes, sewer lids, storm drains, everything will have to be put back at their level, their manpower. So, pretty much everybody that I spoke to said it would be early spring before those projects could start, and we will try to work around the school schedule as best as we can to not impede them no more than we have to. But, maybe we could do it over Easter break, or maybe on what, Saturday, or, that's something we have to work out later on down the line, but I think that the section of town that we're talking about, the amount of work that has to be done is, that's pretty much the best place we can start to get the most bang for our buck for the citizens.
I have a few questions. Byron, when you talk with these folks, can you get possession of those millions? And what would be good is if you can put those down there at the new Public Works parking lot if you need to, because the millions, if you go in there and then you roll them, it's almost like a road too. So that's better than just putting the gravel down there.
We will be reclaiming
So you wrote,
everything that we can.
that's a great thing. And I guess my thing, so this is gonna leave you a surplus of about $60,000, I think, because I think, or really more than that, almost 100,000, because we budgeted, we got a cushion, but what I'm saying, if we've got money left over, when we see where we're at, we may, if we've got another road while they're already here that we can jump them on, then you can bring something back to the council and let them approve that. So let's use that $500,000 to the best of the town's ability.
Now, this 366 does not include the 41.5 for the parking lot adjacent to the post office. That's a whole separate thing.
Okay,
That was bid separate.
okay. But still, you got $50,000 to
Oh, yes,
play
sir.
with, so that's good.
If we can find a place to use it, that's exactly what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, I'll make a motion that we take staff recommendation and award the bid for the paving to
Walk, W-A-U-G-A.
ever how you pronounce that, I'm not sure. Walk, yeah. That's what I make the bid for.
So I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Farmer. Do we have a second? Councilman Thornton, any further discussion?
One thing, just make sure, when they go in and they're rolling it, that we don't damage any other utilities. Is the utilities in them areas, I don't know what condition they're in, but you can get in there vibrating and you can
Well, that's
cause.
why I made the stipulation that any of the valve boxes, any of the, sanitary sewer lids, anything that we have to go around, they will all be at their labor costs, not ours.
All right, I just want to make sure we're not damaging any of the lines either, the old lines and everything, so you may not have to vibrate it, you know what I mean?
We got you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Byron,
And I just want to say something. I want to thank staff and Byron. We've been talking about roads for 12 years, I know, so I'm glad I think we've paved maybe 2 roads in the 12 years that I've been on the council. We did Lemon Street, and I think there was another one that we paved other than what DOT has done, which they're responsible for doing 770 and the Business 220. So I think this is something that's good for the town, and it's something that the citizens can see, so hopefully they'll appreciate too. So thank you.
when do you think the parking lot up here will be paid, that you were just talking
I
about?
called him yesterday morning, and he's buttoning up a couple other smaller projects. I'm hoping to have it done before the tree lighting service.
So the weather, that's not gonna, it doesn't do anything with doing that parking lot, the temperature, I mean? No?
As long as we get it before it gets too cold, we'll
Okay.
be fine. With
Okay.
a small project like that.
I got you. Thank you. Thank y'all for what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Truly appreciate you.
And I do want to make the council aware, when I did a school tour, the conversation did come up just so that we have kept the school system in the loop about the potential effects on their traffic patterns. Superintendent was there, as well as the gentleman who's over their facility. So I just want to make you aware that we have had that conversation, and so they'll be reaching out once we get closer to the date that we plan to start paving.
And I know Mr. Wilson, you shut me up, somebody can, but the traffic pattern right now, if you come out here at 2:30, it's terrible right now. You could pave the whole town, and I don't know that it can get much worse than it is right now. It's pretty bad, so I don't know what needs to, I think the chief and folks need to sit down and maybe figure out a different pattern, because I mean, people, you can't even, somebody's gonna have a serious wreck there at Church Street and 770 right there, because the people on 770, I try to slow down, but some of these people, they just go right by you and they don't know what's coming out, what's coming your way. So that's something I think that we need to, that's a public safety concern that needs to be looked at, I think.
It's been addressed a couple of times when Chief Moore was here, because it went down by Charlie Soap, and then Charlie Soap had us move it.
Yeah.
Or,
Well,
I can tell you this, I'm gonna go off subject, but I'm not, but I am. We are this close to getting a school down here. We need to be a voice down here. If we get that school down here, the whole traffic pattern will change.
Yeah.
We have been discussions and heard many meetings where they will move that school around, and it would be, those kids would be safe.
well, I think we're supposed to be.
They have got to hear our voice, though.
Well, I think it's gonna happen, but I think we need, for the safety of our folks right now, because the school, even if they approve, it's probably 5 years out, longer. We need to get Charlie's Soap into discussions and figure out whatever pattern we need, because I think part of the paving contract is paving down there, that area down there. So if we're doing, it's our road, so we have the ability to utilize that road. So we own the road, or we maintain the road, so we make the say on what we do, not Charlie Soap. And I probably shouldn't say that, but you know, the safety of our school kids and our residents, it should be our top priority all the time. So somebody needs to work to try to figure out what we can do on that, so.
And I'll get with Chief Dixon about that and see if we can.
But it's a concern.
Next is a consideration of the salary review for Public Works Technician.
So this item was one that was discussed in closed session regarding, it basically is due to the fact that we made an adjustment in the salary schedule, and by doing so, in essence, we left one of our employees behind. So our goal is to move that employee forward based on his evaluation.
So do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion that we do the salary adjustment, and I think, as you said, Mr. Town Manager, it was due to, because when we redid the pay range, he actually dropped to almost pay grade instead of being moved up, and this just kind of puts him in line where he needs to be now, so I have no problem with that. So I'll make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation.
So we have a motion on the floor from Councilman Farmer.
Second.
A second, Councilwoman Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a consideration of Resolution R-2025-13, approving financing for the purchase of 2 police vehicles through the Fidelity Bank and authorizing necessary budget amendments.
So yes, this resolution is just part of the paperwork. After doing some investigation, because of the town being on the UAL list, we are required by law and statute that we have to go before the local government commission before we can even apply for a loan. So as part of that, we had to have a resolution in place indicating that we had solved out the finance terms of a loan and what it would look like for the town. And so this resolution is simply to recognize that fact and accept that as the best financing term sheet and details that we can have for this particular loan. This does not guarantee that we can go ahead and apply. So I just want to make that, we have to submit this to the LGC. We then have to go to the LGC in November, and then they make their determination whether they will allow the town to actually apply for the loan or not. So this is just one step in the process.
Well, based on that information, I make a motion that we approve consideration of Resolution R-2025-13.
We have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Smith. A second?
Second.
Councilman Thornton. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a consideration to amend the personnel policy, and this is the addition of section 32-3030 by hiring procedures and required background checks upon conditional offer.
Personnel policy is basically required, effective October 1, we are required to put language in our background checks, et cetera, for any individual that is in contact with youth, and as as a result of that, we've made the adjustments. There is a little bit of clarification of some additional language in the policy. That same section, per Mr. Russell's recommendation, it basically says the same thing, but we just changed around the language. The primary change, or the main change in this, is that now there are specific detailed background requirements for those working with children.
I make a motion that we approve the changes as recommended by staff.
Do I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Farmer? A second?
Second.
Councilman Shelton, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a consideration or review of the consummatory, I knew I was gonna mess that up, for a time. Yeah, consummatory time for exempt employee, and it's section 32-081 overtime policy.
Okay, so, Council, just want to make you aware, item 7 and number 8 go together, but item 7 talks about the exempt employees. Per a couple of council members' requests, I know back in March, some determination was made because of the police department not being fully staffed at that time, that they would allow the police chief to earn in excess of what the policy currently recommended, because she is the only, other than myself, she's the only exempt employee. So at that time, you acknowledged she was filling in places where there weren't needs of officers. And so this is basically, that first section is simply to review that. I know at some point it was stated that it was the understanding that this was to be a temporary consideration over the case by case, and that at this time you wanted to review that piece of that. Do we want to discuss that portion of it before moving on to the, okay,
We'll go ahead and
I would just like to go ahead and, I think you're fully capable of adjusting your time back to where we need to now, since we're over that particular time period. Whatever you have on the books now, you take off, but you will not be able to get any more other than the 40 that you have now. So I think we revert the policy back to what it was. That was the understanding for that, is that when the department became fully staffed, that we would come back and make those adjustments, and I think she is at the place where we can do that now.
Now, let me ask a question. Exactly, I'm not clear on what this is asking.
So item number 1 is simply, I think it was a point of review, because back in March it was understood that this would be almost a temporary fix, but to the extent how long that fix was going to last is just to review that piece of it. At this point in time, I think what we're asking for, if we do revert back to the 40-hour limit, that we still give the chief a grace period to be able to utilize her time.
Whatever
so that
time
she
she's
knows
got,
she can
right, she would take that off, but she would not add anything to that.
So that really, so the first part of this is not a change per se in what's already there. It's just the case by case is now up for review.
But I do think we need to revert it back. I don't think it's up to review. It's up for review.
Right.
And the review is that we're able to revert back to the way the comp time should be. It should be the 40 hours instead of what we adjusted it to. That's what I think needs to happen.
So my question is, if we do that, then every time we have this issue, we got to come back and discuss it again?
It should be that way, yes, ma'am. Because
So you're saying we cannot make a policy that addresses this under certain terms?
you can do anything you want to, but that's going to be very seldom, should be very seldom that we're in a position where you have to give that additional comp time to your department heads. Hopefully, there should be some type of, when someone leaves, if you're fully staffed, that person's not going to be able, that person would not need to come in and work those additional hours.
And you said it should be, but aren't we assuming?
Well, I'll just assume that every governmental agency in the country pretty much assumes that they're going to give their exempt employees about 40 hours of overtime. That's what most people get. Most people don't do the additional hours that we did, but I was part of voting to do that because I knew that we needed that at the time, but
I think you're missing my question. My only question is, if this puts any person, not only the chief, any person, in this predicament again, instead of us having to come back and go through all of this again, couldn't we have the policy to address it ahead of time so that we know what we're going to allow with strict rules? That's what I'm asking.
If you've got a strict rule in there that states that once someone goes over that, it has to be approved by the council, that would be fine. But right now, if you just do, open it up where it's up to that 150 or whatever, we might not ever see it again, and we've had situations like that happen. We just need to make sure that, or I'm not going to be up for this, council needs to make sure that hopefully we don't have anybody who will take advantage of the situation. If that does occur, we just need to make sure that we have checks and balances to make sure that's not happening. That's just my opinion, but like I've said a million times, I'm one vote, and the council can choose to do what they would like to do.
I'd like to hear other input, but nobody seems to have any.
And if you want to table it, you can table it. Why don't you table it till December, and that one I won't be here to make any comment.
I will speak on behalf of the other exempt employee. I have exceeded 60 hours, and I've worked to get those down. And so I understood with the question at point, I have capped at 40, and I understand that.
Right.
I'm still willing to do my job because I know that's what there's times that I feel like in town hall that I need to be there whether I've got the extra hours or not, and so I'm going to be there. So I just, that would be a point of consideration, is that there be a little bit of flexibility in that whether it be the direct supervisor says, okay, she comes to me and says, okay, I've got to work these hours, it's going to put me over the 40. Are you okay with that, or do we need to go to full council?
But the only thing I'll say, I was a department head for almost 40 years, and I never got anything until I came to North Carolina, because the city of Eden gave their department head 60 hours. In reality, the city doesn't even have to, the town doesn't even have to give you the 40 hours that we're giving, because when you're non-exempt employee, if it takes 75 hours to do the job, that's what it takes to do the job, and you shouldn't be expected to be paid for it. But the town's already given you that 40, which we're not required to do so anyhow. But, like I said, it's up to the council.
And that's great, and I completely agree. I mean, as an educator, that's the way we do. We're 24/7, whatever it took for us.
Whatever
to
you need to do,
so,
right.
So I appreciate that you're considering this as an option and providing at least the 40 hours.
Yeah, well, I think the 40 hours stay. That definitely stays.
Well, with that said, I would like to table this so we can have more discussion, so I can have a better understanding. And I really feel like we can put a policy in place. Because when you make policies knowing your people are honest, not thinking your people are not honest. So I'd like for us to discuss it further and make a decision, if that's okay.
Is it okay with the council? We table it?
I guess you make a motion to table it.
So we have a motion from Councilwoman Smith to table this until November. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilwoman Thornton. All in favor? Opposed? So it's tabled. Thank you. Thank you, Daisy. Next is a consideration to amend the personnel policy, section 32-081, overtime policy, and this is the compensation of a non-exempt police officer.
So currently, the way the policy is written and the way state required it to be written up until a couple of months ago was that in order for police officers to not earn, but in terms of their compensation rate to be at overtime rate, they had to exceed 171 hours across a 28-day period. They have since revised that to allow each town to make that. So the proposal has been placed out there is that we would like to go to the 2-week time period, looking at so that it's basically being kept up with this at the same rate as everyone else, because everyone else is paid every 2 weeks versus the police officers being every 4. So there was a lot of paperwork that was having to be kept to ensure that those employees were being paid at the correct rate across the entire month. So this would simply simplify that for both payroll, and I think it also acknowledges that if an officer works 90-plus hours in 1 week, and then the next week next 2 weeks takes a day off, that could potentially knock them out of the additional overtime pay, whereas this would adjust that so that week 1 and 2, they're getting paid at that rate plus the time and a half for the extra overtime. And then the next week, they're paid according to what they've actually worked. So they're being paid for what they're working versus looking at a month at a time. I hope I made that as clear as I could.
think it just simplifies things for
Correct.
staff. So I'll make a motion that we approve that policy as submitted by staff.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Farmer,
Second.
a second Councilwoman Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Next is the consideration to adopt ordinance 02025-04, amending the Town of Stoneville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 31, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, from manager to administrator, and section 31.0AA, and that would be A, membership from 6 members to 8 members.
Yes, Council, right now, as stated, there's simply a reference to town manager versus town administrator, so that is more of a text correction there. But discussion there, they asked that the 2 alternates that are currently being named be made permanent or full-time members, so that instead of being the 6 members, it is simply 8. And that is a recommendation of that advisory council by consensus.
You want to make that motion, Mr. Bennett, since you're the chair there?
I'll make a motion, we approve that, I don't know where the numbers are.
Number 9 down there.
You talk about on the agenda?
On the agenda, yeah.
I'm looking at the actual policy there. This one right here. Ordinance 0-2025-04, outline Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
So we have a motion on the floor from Councilman Bennett. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second was Councilman Shelton. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Next is the update from the our finance officer, Ms. Marianne Greer, and she is going to be discussing new software, audit, and reporting.
Okay, so since I've been here, we are in the process of switching software from QuickBooks to Southern software. And the difference is QuickBooks is not really built for fund accounting and for governmental accounting. Southern software is. And it is a big change of actually the work to go into getting it all loaded. I have gotten all of the chart of accounts loaded, I've gotten the beginning balances, and I've gotten the budget loaded. So now we can actually see budget to actual. So all of that is in there now, and so it'll show things a lot easier. I think it'll be things that you can see quicker. And I was able to go ahead and set up all the new funds for all the water sewer projects that we've got going on. So I've set up 4 different funds because we have 4 projects. So those have been set up as special projects, which is different because you can't do a special project in QuickBooks. We're able to do that because these projects are going to last several years. So that's been done. The auditor came in. He was in here last week for 2 days. He went over everything that he needed. There may be things that he'll call me and need. But originally, you had to have your audit done by October 31st. The state has changed that to December 31st. I mean, 31st, so maybe we can see something early November. But there's a software thing that the state has to do that they have not uploaded yet. So he cannot put the information in to report it to the state. So as soon as they upload that, he'll be able to report it to the state, and then he'll be able to come back and give us his findings. And then the last thing, like I said, the reporting will be a lot better. I'm in the process of finishing up putting in all the new information, doing some basic things like that. Once all that is done, then I'll be able to be sure and more confident with the numbers that we have on hand to be able to give those to you so you can see your budget versus actual.
And if I may, it's up to the council, but for the finance director to be to bring her laptop, I know you have to do something, and she has the ability, if the council has a question about a line item, she's able to give that to us right then and there, because for years and years and years, we were able to get that, and the last couple of years, we were told we couldn't get it.
Wouldn't you have to be linked?
We are working with VC3. It's been asked multiple times. Help me out, Delia, the language. But basically where they can remote into their computer from this site. At this point in time, VC3 still has not established that for us, but we're working with them to try to get that. And that would allow her the ability to bring a laptop here and be able to pull up her desktop from the office and be able to give you exactly.
I think it would be
right.
very beneficial to the
Correct.
council as well as to the public, because it is just great to have that information, because
Yes.
we don't have it, and if she's got it, she can provide that to us.
Right now, we don't have laptops, so that's something we have to be able to do that.
What happened to all the laptops that we used to have? You don't know,
The ones that I've seen in the office are
outdated maybe?
very aged. Yes.
Okay, all right.
But as
Well,
soon as we get those.
But even if you just
Right.
have one for the finance thing for your council
Correct.
meetings or something, you know, it's not going to benefit me, but I think it would benefit, because I know Mr. Bennett's like me, he asks questions about the numbers sometimes, and it would be good if we could get those out.
But yeah, in the office, we've had that discussion about getting both Delia and Mary Ann the laptop, in addition to, and again, I can't remember what the term is, but anyway, basically the secure, so that they can log in from here securely and be able to access their desktop. So we're working on both of those items.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Next is number 11, a budget amendment, and this is for the SCAT bus service.
So we bring this to your attention for, in looking at when we were budgeting, creating the budget for this current fiscal year, in looking back 3 years, we found no evidence that we had budgeted for the SCAT program. However, on Monday, I received an invoice from them stating that we had an annual commitment of $4,000, $1,000 per quarter. In doing some research, the 3 years in which we had not budgeted anything was because of the COVID funding, and they had used federal grants to cover the total cost versus being a portion of the cost. So going back far enough, we did discover home full. In the past, it was much higher than it is now. When we looked at those numbers, it was kind of amazed at the difference. I mean, we're talking about $15,000, $20,000 a quarter, whereas now we're looking at $1,000 a quarter. So this amendment is simply to address that invoice that was missed. I will tell you that when we went to do the research, it went all the way back to November prior to when Ms. Holland here, she did have an email where she had, I will say consented to this, but basically acknowledged that this was an invoice that the town would owe come July 1. And so anyway, this amendment is simply to address that and move the $4,000 to the appropriate fund so we can pay the invoices.
I can tell you that in the past, it was 2 SCAT buses, and that's probably why the money was more. And then they have found out that they usually, now they have 2 parked here, but they only keep 1 in use. And that's
Right.
probably why it's cheaper now than it was before.
And again, they do apparently keep data on how many's riding from Stoneville versus the other municipalities in the county. So it's based on ridership count over the last couple of years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we do the budget amendment for the SCAT bus, amount of $4,000.
I second.
Very good. So we have a motion from Councilman Farmer, a second from Councilwoman Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is number 12, and this is a consideration to add a police officer. Also, with that same, it would be consideration for a budget amendment to fund the police officer.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the town administrator to proceed with hiring an additional police officer and receive $45,000 from fund balance.
And I think it needs to be noted that the 45,000 is because of the time of year.
It's for only
Because
about
it's-
6 months instead of, I think the total price for new officers is roughly around $66,000.
With all benefits and everything. Yes, sir. So-
And the only thing I'll say is that the police department is really, I think they're doing a really good job. I think since we've hired Ms. Dixon, we see a lot of things happening, and I think the officer will allow us to continue to do those things and make sure that our officers are safe as well as our people are safe out there.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a lot of seconds. So we have one from Councilwoman Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, there is no old business. Do we have anyone signed up for public comments? No public comments. Town administrator report?
Just a couple items for the benefit of the council as well as community members. Lot 2540 is planning an event on October 25th. They have been in communication with us regarding this event. There will be minimal disruption in traffic, but there might be a section of, but that is October 25th. Just want to remind everybody, trick or treat downtown October 31st from 2 to 4. Real quick update, the bank building is on track for completion, and Klein did have a successful day today. As of 4:30, she said they had opened 27 new accounts with still a couple that was in the midst of doing that, and they still had a couple of hours. So that was good that we had community support there. And then one thing, I was approached by a gentleman by the name of Bill Stone. He is the grandson of Robert Tyler Stone, and he had a portrait of this gentleman. And after doing some research and talking with Bill Knight, this gentleman actually served at one point in time as one of the mayors for Stoneville. So he is in works to probably donate that to the town, so that will allow us to add additional photos here. Interesting enough, he is also was the first president of the Bank of Stoneville. So those two pieces of historical wall of portraits that we have here in town, in the council chambers.
I have, Mr. Town Administrator,
Yes, sir.
what is the completion date for the old bank building?
So the agreement was November 18th, and Mr. Doss has indicated he feels like he will be finished well before then. So we're probably...
Do we know when the claim may open up? Do we have any...
In discussion with our senior vice president, she said there may be, if he gets done early enough in November, that they may do a soft opening for December, and then do the official grand opening in January still.
So we're looking at January
To have a grand opening, yes. But it is highly likely, based on the way we're looking with schedules, that barring that he doesn't have any other problem with construction, that it could be that they'll be in their building by December.
And I would just like, and like I said, I'm one person. I think the city mayor, their picture should be up on the wall too. I think something may happen where they may not ever get to see their picture up there. So I would like for them to see that. Yeah, but I'm just saying that would be appropriate to have the city mayor's photo up there. Not at me, but I just think it would be, for the little amount that the mayor makes and the council members make. I know we got some folks that's running For y'all's record, I think the council members, we get a whopping $100 per month, whether you meet once a month, and sometimes we've been known to meet 10 times a month. So you get $100, and I think the mayor gets what?
I clear $103.
She gets $103.
I think it's a
So you
little
don't do it for the money, you do it because you care about the town. So I think that's the least that we could do if everybody's in favor. I think I said it one time before we didn't do it, but I'd like for
Thank you,
us
Johnny.
to consider that.
I'd like to get to see it.
Yeah, and, but again, I want to thank everybody that's running for office, and good luck to everybody.
Okay.
Because this is the last meeting before the election, so I know I shouldn't be talking, but thank you for taking the time to serve for the town of Stoneville, and I just want to wish all the folks that are running good luck, and just remember, you're doing it for the people. You know, you're not doing it for anything but trying to make the town a better place.
I agree with Johnny. Thank y'all for doing it. It's very a service of self. And anybody that has the courage and to be able to do it, it says a lot about that. It can be some of the most difficult things or some of the best things. And with that said, I want to thank all the department heads, Byron. I truly thank you for what you do. Every time I go out, I appreciate you. Same way with you, Joel. Appreciate you, Becky. And I appreciate Michael. And today's his special day. Today happens to be Michael's birthday. I told you I was going to. So, Michael, we appreciate what
All I'll say is what a day to spend your birthday, right?
you do. You stepped up and took the ground running, and you do a great job. Delia, you do too. So do you, Mary Ann. I told Michael today we're in a really good place. So I can't say it enough as a person. When y'all do what y'all doing and y'all do it, it makes my life a lot easier. So I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, and I'm sure these other guys up here, and Daisy, thank you for what we do. So at that time, do we have a motion to adjourn? Our next meeting will be on Thursday, November the 6th. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I got just one more thing. While we were talking about these photos, that I agree with Johnny, but there was a guy, Joe Paterno, had a statue of him outside Penn State football field. And they never done it, they got torn down, but,
Yeah.
what's the deal with the library and some of the photos that was in there? I think it was Mr. Stone that was hanging on the wall in there, Mrs. Belton, who donated money for the Annette, Dr. Falk, who was our resident physician for 40 or 50 years. But, you know, we gave the county $4,000 and for their mark. I don't know what it stands for. Museum of Arts in Rockingham County.
Of Rockingham.
So, we need to be aware of these things, you know, and make sure that we get these archives to them so that we're represented over there and they don't get us thrown in the trash somewhere.
Great.
You know, there's a cemetery right outside the, hey, Barbara, you're an ex-librarian there. Do you have something?
I would say, talking about those portraits, I asked the same question the past week, and they are in the library. The first mayor, his portrait from the Stone family is in the library in the bathrooms. Dr. Buck's portrait is still there, and some honorariums of like
Really?
land that's given. And Mrs. Belton didn't have a portrait, that was just a name, you had her name on it, meaning one portrait of her. They are there.
Okay, well, I've never been able to find them.
Well, I asked this week, I just did it, so I've been able to show you this. In the bathroom.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from Councilman Shelton, a second. Thornton, all in favor? We are adjourned.